All right, well, welcome everyone, and thank you very much for joining us for this month's Instructor Community Call, the one for May 2023. My name, as always, is Kyle Rosenthal. I am a Microsoft Certified Trainer. I'm also an account executive here at Skillable. So we will be spending some time today doing our usual sort of bits and pieces of running through some of the updates and that sort of thing. We'll also do some look ahead at, look at some of the instructor resources that maybe you may not be aware of, or that you've come across before and you've forgotten. I am in Las Vegas at the moment for an event, so I'm attached to hotel Wi-Fi, so it's going to be a little bit janky. I might turn off my video just simply so that it doesn't take up any more of the bandwidth. So let me do that. And then if I can also just get everyone to check their mute as well, just to make sure that your microphones are all muted. Rightio, so let's get underway then. And as I said, we'll have a bit of sort of different discussions, that sort of thing, as we're going through. If you do want to jump onto social media, if you want to share that you're attending the call today, and tag us either, depending on what your social media of choice is, so Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. So if you want to jump in and just mention that you're attending the call, it kind of gets the word out as well to other instructors that might not be joining. As well as that, just bear in mind that everything that we do along these sort of lines does get recorded. So therefore, we do publish it afterwards as well. So there might be some people that are actually listening to this only recorded due to time zones or work commitments. So what are we going to do today? We've got some general sort of welcome, which is also including a little bit of a roundup. We also have then what I'm calling the Skillable TMS secrets that will change your life. With a little addendum, as we'll see. And then we'll discuss some of the instructor offers that are available, just to remind you of those, particularly for some of our new instructors. And then also some conversation and resources at the end. So hopefully we've got some time to be able to do a little bit of Q&A if you want to have some discussion, that sort of thing, as we go through. I know that some of you are instructors in the Microsoft space, some of you are not. There is a couple of the topics that are in here. I'll just pre-warn you that there's a couple that are very Microsoft centric, but pretty important for those for Microsoft certified trainers that might be in the call. So feel free to kind of to zone out for a bit for those if you're not in that Microsoft space. And so to jump directly into that is our recently published mock courses. This is the Microsoft official courseware. So I've had quite a few different requests and that sort of thing coming through for, particularly now that we're sort of transitioning away from having the Azure passes being handed out by Microsoft and from the courseware marketplace. So there's been a lot more sort of development a lot more of the finalization of development we've put through for things like the no Azure Pass required courses. So you'll see more of those popping up as the Azure passes are further withdrawn or not required for labs. We do have a couple that I've had quite a few requests come through for, which is the MD 102 and the MS 102. Just bear in mind that they are replacement courses, so that they are going to be released soon-ish. But at the moment, the previous courses are valid courses for those as well. So therefore, if you are looking to do those topics, then the previous course is still valid previous courses are still valid. And just a reminder for those that are having for courses that require Azure passes or courses that have no Azure Pass, that the information for that, like the Azure Pass or the logins for Azure, are being located over in the resources tab. So if you do have a course that still does require an Azure Pass, They don't get issued separately from Microsoft. We don't issue them separately. They are bundled with a lab, with a lab. So therefore, in the lab environment, you'll see the Azure Pass showing into there. So, so if you're getting lost or your students are getting lost, that's where they're located now. Obviously, if it's using an Azure Pass, you still have to do the same process of doing the activation and that sort of thing that you would have had to have done previously. It's just that we're now doing it, or we're now the supply of the Azure Pass code is done through the lab environment. Okay, so then the Skillable TMS secrets that will change your life. Of course, they may not actually change your life, but will certainly hopefully make your life easier. And it's certainly things that you can point or that you can use to be able to assist your students with. Now, these things like that I'm going to show you. There's a couple that are new because of processes that have changed, that sort of thing. But the majority have actually been around for a while. But in speaking to instructors, either they're things that weren't known about, or that were known about but have sort of been forgotten in the annals of time, and people go, oh, I forgot that I could do that. There was a discussion that I had with a customer about 2 weeks ago who had this list of requests of, this is what our instructors really want to be able to do. And I went, yep, we can do all of that. Like, oh, okay, when we'll be able to have access to it? It's like, well, about 3 years ago. So they were just things that the instructors, had never, either never stumbled across, or, as I said, had kind of forgotten. So the things that we're going to be looking at, so things like adjustment of activities, monitoring labs, sending notifications, sharing files into virtual machines, sharing class files, so that's things that you'll share to the students outside of the virtual machines, and as well as that Microsoft Learn integration, Microsoft Learn reporting, and the Microsoft Learn achievements. Now, obviously, those last three are very much Microsoft focused. So for those of you who aren't Microsoft certified trainers, then you can kind of tune out for those. But they are very important, particularly now with the model that Microsoft have with regards to distribution of courseware, and how they now count, like how they count how course completion is going for things like the like partner credits and that sort of thing. So therefore, they are really important for those folk. All right, so the first one of these, and I'm going to show you these live, but I've also got them in the deck as well, so you've kind of you can go on and have a look at these later on. And excuse my my terrible highlighting and that sort of thing, but I'm an instructor first, so therefore, I do things on the fly to be able to do the explanations and that sort of thing. So let me grab up though this a class. So what I've done is I've started up a class. Let me pull this over here. If I can get my mouse to function. Come on. Right, here we go. Okay. So now, hopefully, by now you've, as instructors, you've seen this part of the environment. So this is our dashboard. So the instructor dashboard. So just as an aside on the way through, we have certainly done a talk around this. Like we've had had a discussion around the instructor dashboard as well as the student dashboard in previous editions of our monthly call. But yeah, so the instructor dashboard, nice, easy way to be able to get access to classes and courses or classes that you're running. So in this case, I've got a class that I've got scheduled out. If I access directly into that, I can go into the class. That then gets me to what you would normally see as like the classroom. Now, I've set this one up as being a virtual classroom. So therefore, that's why it's got an enter classroom option into here. So just bear in mind that, and remember that, if someone is setting up a class for you, if you're doing a virtual classroom, that as part of the setup for that environment, they can put in links to things like Zoom rooms or to Teams meetings, that sort of thing. Basically, like whatever the meeting technologies you're using, if they have a a link to be able to launch to, then that can be put in. Now, what does that do for you? It means that you don't have to have separate information, separate communication out to the students about, oh, look, this is where you click into, this is where you don't click into. You also have a little bit of control over it. Oh, well, you have good control over that, not a little bit of control. With things like, say, for instance, opening up that classroom. So the classroom, you can say how long before the classroom, like before your class starts, that virtual classroom is enabled, so that enter classroom button becomes clickable. Prior to it being clickable, it just sits there as being gray. But once it's clickable, then they can enter into the classroom. So if, say, for instance, you don't necessarily want students going into the classroom after hours, before hours, that sort of thing, then or if you've got like a Zoom subscription as an example, and you're using shared classrooms there, or using a shared classroom environment, then that might be a really good reason to restrict down when folk can go in and when they can't. So you can make that link appear or be enabled and disabled as you need to. Now that's set up from the operations manager to set that up. But again, it means that you've got one place to be able to go to. If you are using Zoom, then we can actually plug into your Zoom subscription and create those classrooms for you on the fly. So it doesn't even have to be created by someone. We can actually do, basically call in to be able to create the Zoom subscription, as long as we have the Zoom classroom, as long as we have the details for it. For things like GoToMeeting, for things like Teams, then there's links, links to that you can put into for that, or that you can create for that particular class, and then you can put that in for that to be available. You can also have it so that it is adjusted for, as I said, the student, but you can also have a separate environment or separate timing for the instructor. So the instructor can go in early, as an example, to be able to do some setup in the virtual classroom as need be. So that aside, this is the sort of the standard class environment, which has all the launch buttons available, etc. Now, what you may have noticed, or what you may have not have noticed, is this option to be able to disable all the activities. Now, what this does is this essentially gives you the ability as the instructor to be able to say, what's available and what's not available for the students to be able to use at the time. And for some reason, my page is not responding to be able to do that. I'm blaming the connection here. But yeah, so essentially what, and now it's catch up there, all caught up. Conference Wi-Fi. So now what I've done is you can go and disable all the activities, right? And then you can then go and enable them as you want to. So what does that do? That stops students from jumping ahead and doing the activities that you don't want them to do as yet. Particularly, if you've got a group of people who you see are doing that, you can focus them in right into what you actually want them to do at the time you want them to do it. You can say, for instance, enable an activity, and then once they're finished with that, you then go and do the next one, but disable the previous one. So if you're wanting to really guide them and only give them particular content to be able to work their way through, particularly for those for courses that might have some of that might have some particular labs that you want them to do it in a particular order, and maybe that might be a different order from what the published order might be. Then this is gives you a lot of flexibility around that. So yeah, so you can go in, disable the activities, and then enable them all, or alternatively, you can have them all enabled and just disable particular ones by unchecking the box. So a really good function as an instructor to be able to make some changes into there. So basically what you do is you get to choose the adventure. You get to choose how the students are actually doing the work and what they're doing with how they're actually active, like how they're working within the lab environment. All right. So monitoring labs, sharing files, and then going into sharing files into a VM and sending notifications. Okay. So this one again is like something that's has been available for quite a while. Probably out of all of those, the newest part of that is the send notifications, and even that's probably a little bit old, a little bit long in the tooth now. So let me go and have a look into there. How we get into there? We go into monitor labs, right? So that's our overall monitoring. Now there's an extra step that I'll see within here, and that's just simply because the way that my account is set up, you won't see that. You'll come into here. And what you'll then see is you would see any of the running labs that are showing into here for you to be able to monitor into. There is the option to be able to have different tile sizes. And the idea with that is that you can then look to see what's running and be able to see that live view of what's actually showing within the lab environment. And then so what you'll then what they'll then see is they'll then see you'll see whatever whatever labs are running, and that would be dynamic. So therefore, as a student is launching, comes out, etc., you can see it. Through that, you can not only monitor, but you can then actually take over their session as well. So you can jump into their session. If you're monitoring it, then you can do that passively, so they don't so that there's no interaction. Or you can take control of it. If you're taking control of it, then the student sees what you're doing, right? And can control the mouse and keyboard, etc., at the same time as you are. So you want to kind of do that with their knowledge, so that they're not going to be they're not going to see the they're not going to be fighting with you for the privilege of using the mouse. But that then gives you that ability to be able to do that over the shoulder for those virtual training environments. So being able to reach into students' machine and take over what they're doing, or reach into their session and take over what they're doing. From within here as well, this is where we can do the instructor files, where you can share files. Now, if you're doing instructor files, share files from within here, what that's doing is that's giving you the ability to be able to share files in the form of an ISO file, which will plug into the virtual machines that the students are accessing. So this is, say, for instance, if you're running a SQL course as an example, and you want to be able to give students something else apart from what's within the courseware. You want to give them maybe a pre-configured database to be able to import, or some queries to be able to import, or some PowerShell scripts if you're running a PowerShell course or something like that. This gives you that flexibility to be able to inject things into the virtual machine for the students to be able to use. Now you can store these. So what I mean by that is that you can actually have them pre-configured into here and just simply make them available as you need to. So by doing that, what we're doing is by having that pre-configured sort of storage, then it means that you might have module 1. Okay, well, now let's make that available. Now it is a general storage that you have. It is only 2 gigs, so so you can't go completely wild with it, but it then means that, say, for instance, you can have this pre-configured for multiple courses, and what you're doing is you're just simply going to be able to do for this lab, let's give them access to this particular ISO, or you could give them multiple ISOs, and in which case they can then switch between them as need be. Okay, so to do that, it's just simply a matter of doing an upload. Then you'll get the usual sort of file picker and be able to select which ones you're uploading, and then you can make them available. So before I go on, I see a question from Mark. So what's the student experience when there is a single launch button and the instructor disables the lab activity after a few hours? Then it means that they can't they can't launch the lab. If they're already in the lab, then they'll be able to keep working, but they won't be able to relaunch it while the activity is disabled. All right. So presumably, if the lab has a timeout because it's a 1 hour lab, 2 hour lab, that sort of thing, they'll run out of time and they won't then be able to relaunch it because the launch button would be gone. And there was a question around being unable to shadow students' labs as access was blocked. So Mark, I don't believe that's a new capability or function to be able to go through. We might have a chat about that afterwards, or maybe take that offline to see which course that was in, to see if there's something particular within that course. So yeah, no, that shouldn't be. It should be something as long as you can get access to, like, because you're shadowing the virtual machine. So you're not shadowing their, and I should point out, you're not shadowing their desktop. Like, as you know, if they're a virtual in a virtual environment, they're not shadowing the desktop they're running the lab from. You're shadowing the virtual environment. So which is a good thing, because that then means that there's no fear from the students that you're peering into their local machine and that sort of thing. The other thing I wanted to show on this page, because this is a very useful page, is this one here, which is the send notifications. Now, the send notifications then means that you can actually send a notification out to all active lab instances in the class. Okay, so what does that mean for us? That means that, say, for instance, you could use this if you're doing virtual class, like a virtual classroom as an example, to say, hey, look, we're all going to lunch, or you should be finishing up module 1 now and kicking on to module 2, that sort of thing. So if it's only if they're in an active lab instance. So if there's no one running and you send out the notification, obviously it's not going to go to anyone because it pops up in the within the lab client. But it is very handy to be able to send out sort of those blanket messages to particularly those virtual training environments, where maybe you don't have everyone sitting in the virtual classroom for some reason, or maybe they're working after hours. You might want to send out a notice that, hey, if you're in module 2, then remember about whatever step it might be that you want to have people sort of corrected on. So yeah, so a couple of useful little things that are sitting in there that give you that ability to be able to do the send notification, the instructor files, and then the monitoring with the adjustment of those small of the tiles and tile size, or simply a list of students to be able to see. As well as that, within there you can see how far they've progressed through. If it's one of those labs that has the checkbox in it, so they can actually see, or you can see how far they've progressed through the lab as well. Okay, sharing class files, and I've put the wrong. I corrected something and then I didn't correct it. So apologies for that. Sharing class files. That should be a screenshot, and I will correct it afterwards. A screenshot of. Right, so manage files. So all the way to the top of the page, manage files. This is where you can upload files that will be available for the class. Now, you might say, well, what about the instructor files? They're available for the whole class, right? Yes, they are, but that's only for within the virtual machine. This one, though, is for the class in general. So this is where you can upload things like PowerPoint slides, Excel spreadsheets, text documents, whatever it is you might want to be able to put in. Like, if maybe you add in, you've got a list of links that'll be useful for your students to be able to share with them and that sort of thing. This is where you go and do this. So you upload a file, you make it available for the students. That then becomes a file that is permanently tagged for that particular class as something for that class. So then it means that it's a classroom resource that you can share. And again, this is like, when I've been doing like presenting sessions and that sort of thing, or presenting a class, I'll generally have something like, I have a text document that I'll have with a whole bunch of those useful URLs that you kind of discuss, or web pages, links to white papers, that sort of thing that you might discuss in a class. And what I'll do is I'll gather those as I'm going. So on a particular topic, and it's something I always add to as well, because you'll always have like a student who'll go, oh, this is this thing I haven't seen before, but or have you seen this site? And so it becomes a point of discussion. I add it into the classroom file, and then at the end of it, I upload that so it's then tagged to the class. So then any of the students, like when the students go back into that class afterwards for their post-class access and that sort of thing, it's then available for them to be able to see. And you can go and add quite a few, like you can add multiple files into there that become those resources for the students to be able to use. I guess the only thing to watch out for within there is, say for instance, if you are sharing, say for instance, PowerPoint slides or that sort of thing, they then become, the students have access to it. They can then take that and do whatever they want with it, right? So, if you're wanting to keep positive control of things, then don't give them access to to it. Same as you give them access to a shared file, that sort of thing. You can disable access to the file that you've shared, but that you've uploaded, by taking it away or deleting it, or just simply taking the visibility away. But obviously, if they've taken a copy of it, it's already gone. Now, that's not something that's not a fault or anything like that within the platform, but it's just something to be aware of. Like, sort of, I know in the past I've done custom training and that's the thing. There might be things PowerPoint decks and that's the thing that I've crafted myself, and I've made done very lots of customization, etc. And I don't necessarily want to give that to the students. Like, if they want a copy of my PowerPoint deck, then maybe I put that into a PDF file and upload it rather than giving them the PowerPoint. Again, that's just an aside. It's not a platform thing. That's just a comment to say, hey, this is things for you to consider as someone who might be giving out some of your content or some of your your IP as well. So, but yes, so certainly you can make it available through here for the students to be able to get access. So you can add whatever you need to within there. So that's then uploading the files to be able to make things available for the students to be able to use. So really handy to be able to do that sharing that you previously might have had to kind of put a OneDrive link or a a Dropbox link or something like that. Keeping it all in one spot then means that the students don't get sort of moved out to, well, where is it I'm going to next, to be able to get access to whatever the resource. So you're just putting it all in one spot makes their life not nice and easy as well. So being able to do some of that sharing. This is where we now move into the Microsoft Learn part of it. So those non-Microsoft folk just kind of maybe switch off for a little bit, or relax. So for the Microsoft Learn integration, there's a few things to bear in mind with that. Right, there's a few reasons why you would why you need to worry about it, and there's also some steps that need to be configured by the person who's actually your operations manager to start off with, right, to be able to get this in place. So the first part is that there is going to be something that needs to be done by the ops manager. So in order to be able to make any of this sort of magic appear as such, the first thing that needs to be done is the admin is going to have to go and add to the organization, in the organization profile, the Microsoft Learn location ID and the campaign code. Now we've got details around how to do that within the help files for the operations manager. So just bear that in mind. There is, in order for any of this magic to happen, that's the first thing that has to happen. You only have to do that once. And then after that, it's everything else is a class construct. So then the admins when the operations manager goes to create the class, they're going to use a course that's available for Microsoft Learn integration, and then include the Microsoft Learn integration details plus the achievement code URL. Now the reason that we've got that in place is so that at the end of the class, the students actually have a way to be able to get their achievement, basically to say that they've finished it. But more importantly, from the organization's perspective, that's when you get the Microsoft Learn KPI, right? To be able to that's how the KPI for courses is being done now, is with the folk that actually redeem their achievements and that sort of thing. So you need to make sure that this first part is done on the back end, which then means that the students have access to the items on the front end. Now, so obviously, from the organization's perspective, this one's important. From the student perspective, they then get access to the courseware in the environment. So what does it look like for them? So they'll see a link for under their for their enrollment. They'll see the Microsoft Learn courseware. Now, this is over and above, the information that we present in the lab environment, like for the lab steps. This is the Microsoft Learn courseware. So this is Microsoft Learn content. Obviously, the lab steps and that sort of thing, that's still handled as it is within the lab environment. But this is for that Microsoft Learn courseware for any of the courses that are enabled for that. As well as that, this is where the students can go and redeem their Microsoft achievement code. So basically basically say, yeah, I finished it, which then gives them a reward, and then also does that count towards the KPI to be able to go back the other way. Okay. With that Microsoft Learn integration, when that's put in place and they've got, they go and redeem their codes and that sort of thing, you can also see what the students have done. Okay, so you can see as an instructor, if you go into the roster, you can see in there whether they have used the Microsoft Learn courseware link, as well as that whether they've actually gone and used the achievement code to redeem it at the end of at the end of the course. Okay, so as an instructor, it's good that it's a nice easy way for you to be able to see in that roster page what a student has done and whether or not they've actually gone and redeemed their code, also whether they've actually gone and accessed the courseware. Okay, so maybe day one, you obviously point the students in the right direction. You say, this is what we need to do. And then, after lunch of day one, you go, okay, has everyone accessed their courseware? And you can have a look, have a bit of a sneaky peek in the roster to see whether they have actually accessed or not. And if they haven't, then you can say, okay, well, Bob, you need to go and make sure that you actually open up your courseware. I can see, have you been having troubles with it? Kind of help that. And then at the end of the course, before they finish, then prompt them to say, before, they all start leaving, prompt them to go and activate the, to go and click on the achievement code, because that's what gives your organization the credit for the course. So it's really important that you do that. And we find that if you've got all that integration set up, and with the instructor sort of prompting along the way, that it is there's a much higher sort of redemption process within there, or a much higher percentage of redemption within there. The link that I've got down the bottom here is what the ops manager can see. So the operations manager can actually do a report as well on across all enrollments, to be able to see what the usage is for the courseware link, but more importantly from their perspective, which students have not gone and redeemed their code. In which case, if they haven't redeemed it, you might want to send them an email and say, the ops manager might send them an email and say, hey, it'd be really great if you went and did this, to get your achievement from the code. But yeah, so that integration part of it, we try and make it as seamless as possible for the student, to be able to then give your organization as much credit as possible for the student redemption and that sort of thing. So and as well as that, with the courseware marketplace, the courseware obviously migrating away from the courseware marketplace, you want to try and make that journey for the students as easy as possible for for getting access to their courseware. And in fact, now with all that integration, it should be much it'd be easier now than, say, for instance, what it would have been under, with using the SkillPipe integration, where they had to go and redeem a code in SkillPipe and then pull that across and that sort of thing. So, it should be a little bit simpler and require less of that sort of that time on day one, actually going and doing that, that heavy lifting that you would have had to have done previously. Any questions on any of the items that we've talked about, and in that the things within the TMS, the benefits and that sort of thing, apart from Mark's question? Feel free to come off mute if you want to ask out loud. Okay. Well, if you do have any questions, drop them into the chat, or we'll have a little bit of question time shortly as well. Just a reminder then, for any of the our instructor offers that we have, if you are a Microsoft certified trainer or an AWS trainer, then you have access to the all access pass within the Challenge Lab environment. So for our Challenge Labs, if you're a Microsoft certified trainer, then you also have access to the mock labs as well to be able to run through. The other thing to mention as well is the instructor recognition that we've got. So you will from time to time get emails from us, prompting you or we're trying to get some recognition for you with regards to the number of students that you've instructed, as well as the number of classes that you have presented as well. And obviously that's all things that you can then publish. They're Credly badges, so you can then publish those out to things like your LinkedIn, or put it into your email signatures if you want to go that way as well. Now that is not specific to to a particular technology, so that's not Microsoft specific or AWS specific or anything like that. That is across the board. If you're an instructor on our platform, we certainly appreciate you, and we like to show that appreciation as well. If you want to access the features for the All Access Pass or the lab access passes, then you do need to go to skillable.com/offers to be able to redeem those. Now, particularly with the MCTs, obviously your Microsoft Certified Trainer status is renewed yearly, so you also do need to renew that access yearly as well, because we need to be able to show to Microsoft that we're not giving the content to everyone. Well, Art, congratulations on your 100 classes. That's a fantastic achievement. So and glad that you've received your badge for it. So if you anyone who is working their way through, particularly new instructors and that's the thing, it's if you've delivered your first class, your second class, your 100th class, your 250th class, it's always an achievement. So well done. All right. So a couple of resources just to to give you some links to and make sure that you are aware of. So a couple of bookmarks, and that's the thing to put through. So skillable.com /instructor-recognition and instructor-dashboard, or /mock for those Microsoft folk. And then if we do also have a Slack channel that's associated as well, so make sure you join through there. And we do also have a feedback page as well. So feedback.skillable.com. I often get asked by folk, hey, there's something that I think should be improved or changed, or that sort of thing. Then really good place to drop that feedback into. Most of the improvements and that sort of thing that have been made to the platform come directly from feedback that we've gotten from you, right? From the instructors, or who are in the weeds all the time with the with the students. You see better than someone who's not, about how things could be done for the student. So if you do have things that you think, hey, this would be better if it's done this way, or this is something new that I think would be a really good idea, feel free to drop it to us. Put it into that feedback, and then we'll certainly take it on board. We'll consider it, and then it may be I'll be completely honest, it may be that we just go, no, we're not going to do that but we'll give you the reason for it. Of course, there might be things that we've done before, or we've done different ways, or equally it could be something that you say we should be able to do this, and be like my customer from a couple of weeks ago, where we then turn around and go, you know what? You can do it. This is how you do it. So, be sure to give us any of the feedback that you might have as well. And then just a reminder of our the bits to be able to go on, or the sites to be able to get to us from. So skillable.slack.com. On YouTube, you can find a lot of resources through Skillable on the Skillable channel. And then through LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or that feedback portal. So please, reach out to us in any way that you want. We always love to be able to have, to hear feedback. We'll always love to hear that we've got, instructors using our platform and that sort of thing. So, reach out or splash that onto the social media as you please. All right. Well, thank you very much for your attendance and your time. We really do appreciate it. taking some time out of your day, whatever time of day it is for you, to be able to attend and have a look. We really do appreciate it, and thank you as instructors for everything that you do. We'll chat to you and see you in the next one of these in our next monthly meeting. I should also say that if there are any topics that you think as instructors would be useful as well, and not just necessarily like platform based and that sort of thing, as you've seen over the last sort of like a set of these, we've had things that go outside of the platform. Then also give us a little bit of feedback on that as well. If there's particular people that you want me to have a chat to, then yeah, we can reach out, or questions you want answered. Let me know and we'll get that sorted. All right. Well, thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next one.